Okay, so everybody, thank you for coming again on this Friday morning. And I was just mentioning to the people who were here, I was just outside doing a few things around the yard, and there's a light rain that's going, and everything is green, and it just feels like a beautiful morning to me. And I hope that you guys can enjoy it too. Today we have John Maurer from Mountain CE with us, and you can see his logo there. It's a mountain goat, and I just learned a lot about goats from all over the world. But John is going to be talking to us today about annuity fundamentals. I know that many of you, or some of you, engage in using the trust that you accumulate and you build up as you work with your Medicare beneficiaries to offer them the ability to write annuities. It can be a great additional source of income for you, but it can also be something that the Medicare beneficiaries that you're talking to are going to appreciate. And so we have asked John to help us with that. Stonehill does provide annuities. They're part of our life department. I'm not an expert at annuities. Some of you are more expert at it than I am, but it is an opportunity for you. And we're here to find out a little bit more about it today from John. So John, take it away. Oh, before you do, I'm sorry. So this is a CE. So that means we need to have your email address, because at the end of the thing, Terry will be at the end of the course. Terry will be emailing you questions, and you need to answer those questions in order to receive credit.
And so, Doug, they don't need to write their emails down, because I can get the email off of their registration.
Okay. I didn't mean to imply that they did, but yeah. Okay. So we've got your email. So if any of you are just, and I haven't noticed if anybody is just on a phone with an unknown, but if you are a phone number or you are an unknown, we will need to know who you are in order to do this. Okay, John, take it away.
Thank you, Doug. And quick question, Terry, do you have their license numbers already, or would it help if the participants provided?
Yes, I do have their license numbers.
Awesome. Perfect. All right. Welcome, everybody. My name is John Maurer. I'll be with you for the next hour talking about annuity fundamentals. So we'll wrap things up at about 11 o'clock. And this is going to count as one CE credit hour for Utah resident producers. And here's the agenda, what we're going to talk about. We'll go through, just start with the basics. What is an annuity? How is an annuity different from life insurance? We'll talk about what do we mean by an accumulation period, as well as what is an annuity period. We'll talk about the difference between immediate annuities and deferred annuities. And we'll talk about the idea of annuitization, and should a deferred annuity be annuitized or not. The difference between fixed, indexed, and variable annuities. And we'll wrap things up this morning talking about reasons for using annuities. So that's the agenda for this hour. I encourage questions, so you can ask questions through your microphone if you'd like, as well as through the chat. Is anyone managing the chat at Stonehill?
I am.
All right, awesome.
I am.
Thank you, Doug. So if I don't see if I don't pick up on a question that came through the chat, please let me know what the question is, Doug.
I will.
Awesome. All right, so that's the agenda, and now let's see, I'm going to bring in another visual here. So just going to set the stage a little bit about the importance of annuities. Doug alluded to the importance of annuities already. This little chart here is from the III, the Insurance Information Institute.org website. So I just want to give them credit for this. This information is on their website, and this is coming from LIMRA. And this helps us understand how much dough, cash, whatever you want to call it, money, assets are in annuities. So annuities are a big, big deal. So the most recent information that we have here is from last year, and it's showing here that there's, billions in structured settlements. We'll talk about what that is a little bit later. And what I really want to show you is this one right here. This really helps us understand how big annuities are. So last year, about $500 billion, so $523 billion were in fixed annuities. Another about $500 billion, so that would be 523 billion, which is $500 billion in fixed annuities. About a little bit more, about $500 billion in the US is in indexed annuities, and then over 2.1 trillion is in variable annuities. So annuities are a huge thing in the United States. There's lots and lots of money in annuities. But interestingly, if you asked 10 random people, 10 random adults in the US, what is an annuity? My guess is that, probably less than half, maybe only 2 or 3 would be able to accurately define what an annuity is, how it works. And maybe that's being generous. A lot of people don't really understand annuities, but yet there's lots and lots of money in annuities. All right, now, next thing I want to go through is, what is an annuity? All right, so I'm going to make this a little bit bigger so we can see it better. And let me know if you're not seeing that, or if it's not large enough for you. But we're talking now about what is an annuity. And a really important thing to know about annuity is that it's a contract sold only by an insurance company. Only insurance companies sell annuities. Banks don't sell annuities. Mutual funds don't sell annuities. They're only sold by insurance companies. So an annuity can provide a guaranteed income for a specific period of time or for the rest of the annuitant's life. Annuity can help prevent a person from outliving their assets, can provide tax-deferred growth, can be used to save money for retirement, can be used to accumulate assets and then liquidate the assets at a later date. And so that's some of the ways that we can describe an annuity. And, in some ways, annuities are similar to life insurance because, again, both are sold by life insurance companies. Both are based on the pooling technique. People pool their money together, and then if somebody has an unforeseen event, then that person is compensated. So that's true for both life insurance and annuities. Both are based on the principle that the length of human life is unpredictable. Both use mortality tables based upon probability of, a person with a particular characteristic is likely to live this many more years, type of thing, mortality tables. And both can be used to grow cash value that's tax deferred. So those are some things that are similar with annuities and life insurance. Any questions so far from anyone?
Nothing in the chat.
All right, thank you, Doug. So now let's talk about what's different about annuities versus life insurance. So with life insurance, the main reason why I or anybody would buy life insurance is to protect against loss of income due to premature death. That's typically why people buy life insurance. And with life insurance, people who live beyond their normal life expectancy compensate beneficiaries of those who die early, right? So, why would I buy life insurance? Well, because I might die soon. That's the primary reason why I buy life insurance. We're all going to die, but we don't know when. And we buy life insurance because we might die sooner than expected. That's the primary reason. But with the annuities, it's kind of just the opposite. With annuities, primary purpose is to protect a person from outliving their assets due to living a long time. So the risk of death is a real risk that we must face. The premature death is a risk that we must face, but also living a long time is another risk, because if we keep living and living and living and living for a long, long time, we can run out of money, right? And so that's why a person might buy an annuity. And so annuities aren't for everybody. And if I'm an old person, should I buy an annuity? Maybe not. Annuities are best intended for younger people with excess money, more money than they know what they do with. That's the primary reason, the purpose for annuities. We'll talk more about the purpose of annuities. So that's some differences between life insurance and annuities. All right. So now, next thing is going to be talking about the accumulation period versus the annuity period. So we're talking about some fundamentals that we need to know in order to be well versed in annuities. We need to know some basic terminology, need to know some basic principles. So one thing that we need to know is, what do we mean by an accumulation period? So accumulation period is simply the period of time. It's also can be called a phase when money is put into an annuity, and more specifically a deferred annuity. And so the accumulation period can be called a pay-in period. It can be called a deferred period. It can be called a deferral period. All those mean the same thing. It's when somebody has money that is not needed right now, and where should I put it? I've got some extra money. Maybe I inherited the money. Maybe I won the lottery. Maybe I won a lawsuit. Maybe I'm a brain surgeon that makes $800,000 a year, and I have extra money. What do I do with it? I might put it into a deferred annuity. And so when I put the money in and it's growing, that's what we call the accumulation period. The money is accumulating. All right, any questions on that? And so in a moment, we'll talk about the difference between immediate annuities and deferred annuities. And only deferred annuities have an accumulation period. Immediate annuities do not have an accumulation period. So when it comes to pay-in options, I can, if I have money that I want to put into a deferred annuity, I can put it in with one single payment, or I can put it in installment payments, multiple payments, and they can be scheduled, like every month I'm going to put money into my deferred annuity, or I can put it in whenever I want to. And so, in other words, it's flexible premiums. I can put money in one time, many times, regularly, not regularly. It's flexible. It's flexible. And so quite often deferred annuities, therefore, are called flexible premium deferred annuities. All right, so again, we mentioned that not all annuities have an accumulation period. Immediate annuities do not have an accumulation period, but deferred annuities do have an accumulation period. You put the money in and the money grows tax deferred. So when it comes to growing the money in a deferred annuity, there's different accumulation methods. We'll talk more about this a little bit later this morning. But just a sneak preview of that is there's traditional fixed, there's equity indexed, and there's the variable that we talked about. And so that goes back to, remember this chart we talked about up here, the green was fixed annuities, the orange is index annuities, the blue is variable annuities. Those are the three main flavors of, for lack of a better term, investing the money, or a better way of saying it is growing the value of the annuity. And most of it, majority of the money is in variable annuities, and where the money is invested in stocks or bonds or some other type of investment that could go up, it could go down. Oops, sorry. Let's see. Let's go back to where we were. One moment. There we go. All right. Any questions so far? So again, we're talking about the accumulation period where you're putting the money in and it's growing. It can be considered traditional fixed, equity indexed, or variable. Again, we'll talk more about that in a bit. All right, so now that we have a good understanding of the accumulation period, let's talk about what we mean by.
Hey, John.
Yeah, go ahead.
So there's a question here from Charles Cowley. I'm just going to read it to you. I'm not sure I'm understanding it myself. Is the difference from life that you can potentially pay all in at once? I'm not sure I understand that question. Do you understand that question?
So the question is, can you put in just one lump sum maybe into a deferred annuity?
Yeah, or is the difference from life insurance, is the difference between an annuity from, Chuck, if you could jump in here and let us know.
Well, in my understanding, and that's probably, it may be totally out of date, that you can't fund a life insurance policy more quickly than a certain number of years and still have it treated, the payout treated as life insurance for tax purposes. Yet with an annuity, you can pay in the entire amount, I think, immediately, as you said in your prior slide. That's when I sent the question in.
Gotcha. Yeah, so you're talking about MEC, modified endowment contract situation. You know, if you put too much money into a life insurance policy too soon, you know, like with Universal Life, for example, it's flexible premiums. So if you put too much money in, like let's say that I have, you know, I've got a $100,000 death benefit policy, life insurance policy, and I put more premium into the life insurance policy than what would be more than what the IRS rules allow for, then the life insurance policy is going to turn into a MEC, modified endowment contract, which means that simply that you lose some of the tax advantages of life insurance if you do that. So it's my understanding that there's no such rule or no such issue with annuities regarding, you know, you can put in as much as you want.
So if I have a client with a large sum of money that they want to have placed immediately, then one type or another of an annuity would be the better option than trying to work it out with a life policy.
I think so. You know, every situation is unique and different, and you know, maybe they do need some life insurance, or but that if they do put a large sum of money into a life insurance policy, there's got to be an appropriate death benefit. There's got to be a very large death benefit to support that. So to that point, yeah, it might be a better option if a client has a large sum of money, maybe that it was inherited or something. And yeah, annuity might be a better option. Absolutely.
The whole difference is just on the taxation of life insurance versus annuities. Life insurance is not taxed if you borrow out. The last in is the last out.
Yep.
With an annuity, the last in is the first out. So the interest is taxed when it comes out, and then the principal is the last to come out. So it's not taxed. If it's previously taxed going in. So that's the whole difference in the two over there.
Yep.
Well, and the life insurance allows for a tax-free death benefit unless you've set it up as a modified endowment, and that's where you're putting in too much cash up front for the size of the death benefit. So you can use an annuity in conjunction with life insurance. Sometimes it's a very good idea to create an immediate annuity that is paying the premium into the life insurance. And then you've kind of got the best of both worlds, where the immediate annuity is being taxed based on the amount of each payment, the portion that is what you had put in after tax, and the death benefit is tax-free.
But even
So-
with a MEC, the death benefit is tax-free.
Yeah, it's not a MEC because you're paying it with
Right, but with
a
a-
series of premiums.
With a MEC life insurance policy, the death benefit is still tax-free.
That's right. Yep, absolutely. Everything.
No.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah. So when a life insurance policy turns into a MEC, the tax consequence is that is related to withdrawals coming out. Those can be taxable first. Last in, first out. All right. So for now, just most important thing about here, the accumulation period is that's the term we use to describe the period of time when the money is being paid in, or at least it's growing, is the accumulation period. So the other main type of period is called a liquidation period. So liquidation period applies to immediate annuities. Liquidation period also applies to deferred annuities that have been annuitized. And we'll talk about more of what that is in just a moment, but liquidation period or phase of annuity is a time during which regular payments are paid out from the annuity. And during this period of time, the annuity is it's kind of like a machine that just produces cash at regular intervals, usually monthly. So liquidation period can also be called the annuity period, the annuitization period, the payout period, the distribution period, income payout period. There's all different carriers and different insurance professionals use this to describe this period differently. I like to call it the liquidation period because the money in the annuity is being liquidated. It's coming out in regular series of payments. All right, and then a lot of deferred annuities are never annuitized. They're never annuitized. Why? Well, because instead of annuitizing an annuitant can take out regular or sporadic withdrawals. So it's possible, and if I put money I've got money into the deferred annuity, and now I'm retiring and I want to take money out, I could annuitize it if I want to. It's kind of like flipping a switch. I could annuitize a portion of the premium, and that's going to give me a guaranteed income perhaps for the rest of my life. That's what I mean by annuitizing. But don't have to annuitize, because I could just say, okay, insurance company, I want to, take out 10,000. I want to get a payment of $10,000 a month. I know I could change that if I want to. Maybe later I want to increase it or I want to decrease it. I can set up regular withdrawals. I don't have to annuitize it to take money out. So the annuitant, so another reason why a lot of annuities are never annuitized is that the annuitant can die or decide to surrender it before annuitization. And a deferred annuity can be purchased with the intent of never annuitizing it, as could be the case for a wealthy person who wants a safe place to put money away that will be passed on to heirs upon death. But the negative thing about that is that, unlike life insurance, annuity death benefits can be taxable to heirs.
Hey, John, could you
Yeah.
just explain what you mean by annuitize?
Yep, absolutely. That's on the agenda in just a couple minutes. So I'll definitely talk about what annuitize is, but real quickly, it's kind of like, I kind of like think of it as flipping a switch. It changes a accumulated amount of money and changes it into regular stream of installment payments. So we'll talk more details about that, but that's the quick answer. It's turning a sum of money into a income stream. That's what I mean by annuitizing. All right. And then if an annuity has been annuitized, then let's see, here's the different payout options that can be selected. So we call this liquidation period payout options. There's pure life. And so let's talk about that a moment. What we mean by pure life. Pure life means that, so let's say I've got $2 million and I could, give that money to an insurance company and say, you figure out, the insurance company is going to do the math and decide, based upon my life expectancy, how long I'm going to live, based upon my age, gender, and so forth. All right, so $2 million. Okay, John's going to be able to get $10,000 for the rest of his expected life. And so pure life comes with the most risk. Pure life means that if I give that $2 million to the insurance company, and then I get 2 monthly payments out of $10,000 each, and then get run over by a school bus, the insurance company wins. The insurance company wins big in that scenario, right? I give $2 million to the insurance company, get run over by a bus. Not too long afterwards, the insurance company gets to keep most of that $2 million. That's what I mean by pure life. Pure life. It comes with the greatest amount of payout. And so remember at the beginning, there's going to be certain questions that you're going to have to answer to get credit for coming to class. So I'm not going to tell you which questions they are, but you just never know which questions that you're going to get. And so Pure Life is going to provide the greatest amount of benefit, monthly payout. Because why? Because it comes with the most risk for me and my family. Another choice, though, is life with period certain. That means that, I'll get payments for the rest of my life as long as I live. But if I die before a certain period of time has passed, before I've received a certain amount of monthly payments, then my beneficiary is going to be the backup plan, and my beneficiary is going to take over receiving my payments until a certain amount of payments have been paid out, like maybe 5 years, 60 months of payments. If I die before receiving the 60 monthly payments, my beneficiary will take over receiving until he or she has received the 60 payments. So that's going to come, life with period certain is going to result in a lower amount of payout. It's going to come with a lower amount of payout, like instead of $10,000, maybe I'm going to get $9,500, let's say, per month, because life with period certain gives me a guarantee that a certain amount of payments are going to be received by either me or my beneficiary. There's some variations of these. Life with installment refund means that at least the amount that I put in is eventually going to be paid back, even if I die soon. Life with cash refund is similar to that, except that upon my death, if I haven't received the full $2 million that I put in, my beneficiary is going to get a cash settlement to make sure that at least the $2 million has been paid back. So, of course, these are going to all come with a cost because of the guarantee that's involved. Pure life, no guarantee. I'll just keep getting payments as long as I live, but once I'm dead, the payments are dead too. Life with period certain, life with, and also there's, fixed period certain and fixed amount certain. Those can be structured in a way that it doesn't matter if I'm alive or dead. I put in $2 million and I get $20,000 out, whether I'm alive or dead. And so if I die before getting 5 years of payments, my beneficiary is going to take over and receive the up until the 5 years is up. So these two, the fixed period and the fixed amount, those are not life contingent. The payout is not dependent upon whether I'm alive or not alive. And you can get real fancy. There's joint life and there's survivor, and it gets that's just same with life insurance death benefits. You can have two annuitants taking money out. So that's joint and survivor options. All right, so that's the different payout options. Let's talk about the different classifications of annuities, different ways to categorize, and then we'll talk more about annuitization in just a moment. So as mentioned, there's immediate annuities and there's deferred annuities. And immediate annuity is when somebody comes upon a lump sum, maybe by winning a lawsuit, maybe by winning a lottery, maybe by winning a settlement, inheritance of some sort, or maybe I've been saving in a mutual fund, IRA, 401k while I'm working, and then now I'm retiring in my 60s or 70s, and now I want to exchange that money that I've accumulated for a regular stream of installment payments. That's what I mean by an immediate annuity. With immediate annuity, there's no accumulation period because the money has been accumulated somewhere else outside of a deferred annuity. So immediate annuity is got a lump sum of cash, give it to the insurance company in exchange for regular installment payments. Deferred annuity, we've talked about that already. Deferred annuity means that there's an accumulation period where I put in one lump sum or multiple payments, regular payments or irregular payments, and the money grows tax deferred. That's what we mean by a deferred annuity. Okay, so there's immediate annuities, there's deferred annuities, and we should understand the difference. I would venture to say that deferred annuities are much more popular than immediate annuities. Immediate annuities are possible, and for some situations they might be appropriate. All right, we're going to jump down to accumulation method again. This is a review of what we already talked about. There's traditional fixed, there's equity indexed, and there's variable. We'll talk more about that, more details in just a moment. And now let's go through more about annuitization. All right, so accumulation period. So we're talking about here now a deferred annuity where money is being accumulated. So that would be the accumulation period. I can put in one payment, I can put in multiple payments, that's the accumulation period. And then at one point in time, I'm going to point here with my mouse. Right here would be what we call annuitization. And annuitization is optional. You do not have to annuitize a deferred annuity. And you don't have to annuitize all the money in a deferred annuity. You can annuitize a portion of the money that's accumulated. But the important thing about annuitization is that it's kind of like flipping the switch. I've got money in a deferred annuity, and now I'm going to push a button or press a button or flip the switch, and now the money is coming out, probably in regular monthly payments. And an important thing to do is that once you flip the switch, you can't unflip the switch typically. I'm not saying never ever, maybe there's some exceptions out there to that rule, but that's generally the situation. Once the button has been pushed, and now that money has been annuitized, coming out in regular stream of monthly payments. It can't be undone. Okay, so I like to use again the analogy of the switch. And annuitization is a term used to describe the process of taking the funds amassed during the accumulation period, exchanging it, flipping the switch, pushing the button, whatever metaphor you want to use, for a steady stream of guaranteed income. And then that means that we're going to enter into the liquidation period. And so those of you out there that have experience with deferred annuities, have you had any clients that have annuitized?
So, John, there are a couple of questions here.
Uh-huh.
So one is from Julie. She says, does deferred annuity have any contribution limit from the IRS?
Yeah, so it's my understanding that there is not. I don't think there's any limit on how much you can put into an annuity. I'm not aware of any.
Okay. And then
So, go ahead.
Charles Cowley asks, is there any tax advantage to never annuitizing?
Any tax advantage of never annuitizing? Any tax advantage of not annuitizing? I'm not really aware of any tax advantage of not annuitizing. That'd be a great question for a CPA, I suppose, but I can't think of any offhand, like tax advantages or disadvantages. I mean, you know, it all has to do with, you know, do you want to take out money now or do you want to take out money later? So I guess, you know, as long as, you know, you got the money in the deferred annuity, you know, you don't have to pay income tax on it. If it's growing in a deferred annuity, you don't have to pay income tax. So the longer you can delay the use of the money, it's going to be a tax advantage, right? If there's going to be taxes owed on the money. But it gets complicated because you can combine a deferred annuity with an IRA, right? And so then there's traditional IRAs and Roth IRAs. So it gets real complicated because, you know, if you do take money out of, if it's the deferred annuity is also a Roth IRA, then when you take the money out, there's no taxes on any of it. But if it's annuity, a deferred annuity is formed with is combined with a traditional IRA, then when you take the money out, there'll be taxes. So the answer to that question is maybe, right? It gets, you know, it's and so those types of questions would be best answered by a tax professional, which, you know, technically not. I'm not a tax professional, but so the answer to that question would be maybe, depends on the situation.
So if you never defer it, it just passes on to your beneficiaries, and then they're going to have to pay taxes. And the IRS has set up regulations in terms of how fast they have to take payouts from that inherited IRA.
Yeah.
If it's a spouse, she can take it over her whole life, or he. If it's your children, I understand there's new rules now where they have to take it out, I believe, over 10 years. Mm-hmm. So it used to be they could take it out over the life expectancy of the person that died and passed on the annuity. So there's rules. But as you said, the only advantage might be that your kids had inherited and then they're at a lower tax rate than you were if you had taken it out.
Right. Yep.
So there's two comments here, John.
Yep.
First one is from Larry Waters. And he says that if an annuity is considered qualified, then such as an IRA, then there is a limit on, I think he means there's a limit on the amount that you can put into it.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So yeah, if but you could have, you know, an annuity where, you know, part of it is in IRA, part of it is not in an IRA, but yeah, absolutely. Anytime you're talking about an IRA or 401k, yeah, there's going to be a limit on, you know, sometimes there's a limit on if a person puts too much or earns too much money, then they can't put money into a certain type of IRA. And also, even if a person is allowed to put money into an IRA, there can be limits. There are limits as to how much you can put in per each year. So absolutely right. Yep. Anytime you combine annuity with IRA, there's more rules, regulations to follow as far as how much can be put in. And that kind of brings up a good point, because sometimes people will think or say, why would in the world would I, use an annuity when, I can put money into an IRA, a 401k? Why do I need an annuity? Well, and it's because for a wealthy person, there's limits on how much you can take advantage of an IRA or 401k. Annuity, I'm not aware of any limits. If you are putting money into an annuity, that's not part of an IRA or 401k.
So Greg Nelson says to that topic, says, the IRS does not limit the amount that you can contribute to an annuity. However, the insurance companies generally do limit the percentage of your total assets that you can put into an annuity.
Yep, and different companies are going to have different rules on that. Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
That's all the comment.
Yep. And it has it has to be appropriate. It has to be suitable for the situation, right? If something's weird or doesn't look right, then the insurance company is going to start asking questions. All right. Okay, so let's just review some advantages of annuitization. The flipping of the switch. So an advantage of annuitization is going to provide a guaranteed income stream that is provided that can last for a specific number of years or for the life of the annuitant. So this can help prevent a person from outliving their money. It's kind of like that warm fuzzy feeling that I'm gonna at least I'm gonna be able to have this much income for the rest of my life. If I put this much, if I annuitize this much money, either in the form of an immediate annuity or a deferred annuity that's been annuitized, I've got that safety net that I'm gonna be guaranteed at least this much for as long as I live. And the stream of income payments can be set to meet the IRS requirement, the RMD requirement. And there might be income tax advantages to taking a steady stream of income payments instead of taking a periodic lump sum. But, again, that's, you need a really strong tax professional to help you figure out what would be the best for that. All right, and then some disadvantages of annuitization. As mentioned, annuitization is typically an irrevocable decision. Once a deferred annuity has been annuitized, it cannot be reversed. I'm not going to say never ever, but that's the general rule. Another disadvantage is that if deferred annuity is not annuitized, the client can withdraw money as needed. Periodic withdrawals. And even if it's been soon after I put the money in, maybe the insurance company will let me take out at least maybe 10% of the value each year without incurring a charge. But to that point, it's important to realize that generally annuities, whether they be immediate annuities or deferred annuities, should be considered long-term plan. If I have $5 million and I give it to the insurance company, put it into a deferred annuity, and then a couple weeks later I go, oh shoot, I shouldn't have done that. It's going to be a dumb decision, right? That I put the money in there, because if I want to take it all out, I'm going to be hit with a big surrender charge. So annuities are a long-term place to put money, not a short-term. Another thing to consider is that if annuity has been annuitized, you lose flexibility. It prevents the client from taking substantial withdrawals to pay for emergencies and forces the client to receive income when it's not needed. And wealthy retirees might not need a regular income payments. They can leave the assets in the deferred annuity and upon death be passed to the heirs. Disadvantage of that is that there could be tax consequences of that, as opposed to life insurance. Death benefits are always 100% income tax free to the beneficiary. So I don't know, in just to kind of summarize my thoughts on that is that if I'm very, very wealthy, I would probably have some life insurance. I'd probably have some annuities, but not I wouldn't put all my eggs in one basket. All right, so that's some pros and cons of annuitization. And the best metaphor that I like to use about annuitization, again, it's kind of like flipping the switch, changing a sum of money into a regular stream of income payments. So you never know which questions you might get on those three questions. All right, let's now spend a little bit of time talking more about the difference between the traditional fixed and the equity indexed. And here we go. So a deferred annuity can be classified as either traditional fixed, equity indexed, or variable. So with traditional fixed, and remember the graph I showed you at the beginning of the class, about $500 billion are in traditional fixed annuities in the US. The value grows at interest rates set by the carrier. And the carrier guarantees that it will pay no less than the minimum rate of interest specified in the annuity contract. They could pay more, but they're not going to pay any less. And so this is kind of like the safest bet, you could say, is a traditional fixed. You're guaranteed to get a certain amount of interest based upon the contract. And when interest rates are high, then you're going to get a higher rate of return. When interest rates are low, you're going to get a lower rate of return. But at least you're going to get a guaranteed amount. Equity indexed. Equity index means that the value grows at rates that are linked to an equity index, such as the S&P 500 index. So it's important to understand, though, that really an equity indexed annuity is also considered a fixed annuity. It's also considered a fixed annuity. Why? Because you're guaranteed to not lose money in an equity indexed annuity. The value cannot go down. So a minimum interest rate is guaranteed. So, it might only be 1%, or it might be 0.5%, but it's guaranteed to not go down. So when the stock market goes up a lot, like let's say the stock market goes up 20% in a particular year, the S&P 500 goes up 20%. That's a pretty good year for the stock market. If you have money in an equity index annuity, are you going to get 20% return? No. There's going to be a cap. There's going to be a limit on how much you get, right? And so that's the trade-off. With equity index annuity, you're not going to lose. So like last year, horrible year for the stock market. This year isn't so hot either. So last year, if I had money in an equity index annuity, did I lose money? No, I did not lose money, because equity index annuity comes with a guarantee. Might only be 0.5%, might be 1%, but at least I don't lose. The trade-off is that when the stock market does great, fantastic year, you don't realize the full amount of the gain. Just get a portion of it. And there's insurance companies have very, very complicated formulas to determine how much is paid out. There's lots and lots of different ways of doing it. All right, I'll pause there a moment in case there's any questions.
No questions in the chat.
No preguntas?
Hi, John. This is Sharu. I have a question about the index annuity. So I based on my understanding, some company they offer certain, like the index annuity, they have like a certain portion so without the cap. Do you know how does it work if they have like a certain portion? There's a non-cap. The how to say?
Yeah.
You get the interest back.
Yeah, so I think I understand the question. So the question is, how do they calculate the cap? How do they figure out how much the cap will be, or?
No, the cap rate, yes, that's for index annuity. I understand that part, but the certain like a company, they offer, let's say you have, but let's just $100. You put in a contract, right? And then the 20% they allow you can choose the non-capped, the option. Do you know how does it work? How do they work? They usually they restrict your participation, right? Or they put a spread rate.
Yeah, so we do have here in this course, we have indexing methods in here. So there's annual reset, there's high watermark, there's point to point, there's so these are, you know, caps or limits on how much could be paid out. So you know, it would take some time to dive into that portion of it. Maybe after class we can talk about it. I don't want to get off track too much, but I'd be glad to talk about that maybe right after class if you'd like to.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, appreciate the question, and yeah, we can do it once class is over in a few minutes. All right, so yeah, that's equity indexed is considered a fixed product because you can't lose the but you don't get to participate in the full amount of a gain on the stock market in a particular year. And then of course there's a variable where what we saw at the beginning of class in that chart is that most of the money is in variable annuities. And with a variable annuity, the assets of the annuity are placed into a separate account just for that client that are managed by the carrier. The client can choose how the assets are invested in stocks, bonds, mutual funds, real estate. The return is variable and there's no guarantees. And so if I go back to that graph here, so last year, you know, was a pretty bad year for stocks, and so this graph here reflects there was a reduction in value in how much is in deferred annuities. So it went from almost 2.6 trillion down to less than 2.2 trillion. Probably somewhat due to people not wanting to have money in deferred annuities because of the stock market uncertainty, but also the loss in value as well. And of course, to sell variable annuities, not only do you need an insurance license, a life insurance license, but an individual also would need a securities license from the federal government. But to sell traditional fixed and equity indexed annuities, an individual does not need a variable license, doesn't need a security license, only needs life insurance license. All right, so that's a summary of traditional, equity indexed, and variable. And now I want to spend just a couple minutes talking maybe about some uses of annuities. Summarize some things that we talked about. So let's talk first about an immediate annuity. So remember, annuity again, immediate annuity is when somebody has a pile of cash, maybe inherited, maybe from a lawsuit, maybe I've been saving this money throughout my working years and now I'm retiring and I take money from a mutual fund, put it into immediate annuity, and it's going to generate maybe a guaranteed income for as long as I live. And so we can use this in lump sum settlements like a car accident lawsuit, work-related accidents, medical malpractice, divorce settlements. Those lump sum settlements can be turned into an annuity. Like example is, suppose I'm hurt really bad in a car accident. I get hit by a dump truck and I sue the construction company and I get $5 million in a settlement. And so I don't know how long I'm going to live, but I do know that for as long as I live, I'm going to need care around the clock for as long as I live. So it might be a good idea to take that $5 million, turn it into an immediate annuity that's going to pay me to pay me so that I can pay for my care for as long as I live. You know, just an example of a lump sum settlement situation for an immediate annuity. All right, how about a deferred annuity? So why would somebody put money into a deferred annuity? Well, it's a very safe place to put money. It's a very safe place. Banks are kind of skittish right now. So in my opinion, insurance companies are safer than banks, safer than mutual funds, safer than digging a hole in the ground, putting the money in the hole in the ground. Insurance companies are safe. And so people have extra money, don't know what to do with it right now, put it into a deferred annuity. It's a safe place to put money. It can be used to save money for future education needs for the children, long-term care, nursing home, or retirement needs. It can be used to defer income until later. And as mentioned, an annuity can be combined with IRA, individual retirement accounts. So why would I do that? Why would I, if I want to put money into an annuity, what is the advantage of putting it all with the IRA as well? Well, if an annuity is combined with a traditional IRA, any premiums paid into the annuity are tax deductible. Otherwise, if it's just a regular annuity without a traditional IRA, I'm not getting a tax deduction when I put the money in. But if I combine it with a traditional IRA, I'm getting that tax deduction. But if I put annuity is combined with a Roth IRA, any payments or withdrawals received by the owner of the annuitant are tax-free. Tax-free. That's the advantage of combining annuity with a Roth IRA. All right. How you all doing?
Great.
Was this all stuff that you already knew about annuities? Did you at least come away with one or two things that you learned?
Yep.
So there are
Very informative. I have a question. You indicated that annuities are a very safe place. Is there, are they covered by the state guarantee funds like life insurance policies are?
Yes, they are covered by the Utah Life and Health Insurance Guarantee Association. Yep. But the catch, of course, is that there's a limit on how much. I'm just going to go in by memory here. I think it might be $500,000, 500,000. Does anybody know for sure on that? I think that's the limit is about $500,000. I could be wrong on that, but I do know it is less than $1 million. So yes, but
I think it's 250,000. I wouldn't swear to it, but I think it's 250.
250.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
Bill
I know it's.
Turner-
Go ahead.
Bill Turner asks, what's safer, fixed or indexed?
What's safer, fixed or indexed? My gut instinct would be that it would be the same. I think. You know, if we go back to. So just to let you all know, I'm happy to stay on for more questions and things. I'm happy to stay on. I'll do that. But if you have to go, you know, we have covered everything that was on the agenda. So if you do have to leave, you will get credit for the class because we covered everything. But yeah, I'll stay on for a few more minutes. So the question was, what's safer, fixed or index? I think that it's going to be the same really because either way, it's a fixed annuity. A traditional fixed and equity indexed are both fixed. They come with a guarantee by the insurance company. The only difference is that what formulas are used to calculate the gain, the interest. That's the only difference between traditional fixed. So as far as safety goes, I think they're the same. That's my opinion. All right. Other questions? Other questions or comments?
So Larry Waters did say that it looks like he agrees with you. Both are equal. Farhad says he needs to run. Thanks for the presentation. Greg Nelson says the state guarantee fund limit for annuities in most states is $250K. However, the state of Utah is $200K.
Oh, all right. Good to know. Good to know. Thanks. So not very much.
Yeah.
There is a guarantee, but not a lot.
Well, John, thanks for coming. We'll let you stay on if people want to drop off, but we appreciate it very much. And I believe Terry will be sending out by email those questions. Please respond with those things. We need those responses in order for us to follow the rules of the state for qualification for this. Dory Phillips says thank you. So thank you everyone for coming to this, and we'll see you next time. Thanks so much.